Hi, it's Father Barry, and it is the 18th of October when I make this tape. At least make it for this date, and we're in the Day to Day with St. Joseph program. Hello again. I have these thoughts of Joseph BC and Joseph AD, St. Joseph before Christ, and St. Joseph as the Christ is come, AD, the Anno Domini. Joseph BC. Joseph is probably named after the patriarch, so there's a connection going all the way back to Genesis, and that Joseph, to the one that we call Saint Joseph. He's Joseph of Bethlehem, so before Nazareth, and whatever his connection is to get to Nazareth, his ancestors all come from Bethlehem. And Bethlehem is a place that goes way back, at least to Davidic times. Joseph is son of Jacob in a 42 named genealogy. So you have a history going back to Abraham with that list. His son is Isaac. Abraham's the father who is going to offer the son, Isaac, on the mountain, the sacrifice. But then God intervenes, saying, I'll provide the sacrifice. And he makes a covenant, a promise to be revealed later. Well, we go through all of BC until later, St. Joseph, the end of that genealogy of BC. And Joseph is going to have a son, and his son is going to be the sacrifice. It's Jesus, but specially prepared, the Son from heaven. So, a long train running of a covenant line, a long plan unfolding. So Micah's prophecy is that it will happen in Bethlehem, this revelation of the Christ, and that happens to be Joseph's town. It's no coincidence. It's prophecy. Micah has that threefold plan for living. Do you remember? Walk humbly, do justice, and and to love mercy. The threefold advice on life from Micah. The other famous thing from that book, besides this prediction of Bethlehem being the place of the Savior's birth, we think of Joseph BC, we think of, the line going through his own dad, Jacob. We don't know what his mom's name was. And then we know that Virgin Mary also has a line for Joachim and Anne, and then back all the way toward King David. So we have two lines, two family lines coming to join together, and Joseph and Mary. That's a BC connection, okay? And this virgin shall conceive the child, the Isaiah prophecy, okay? You also have figures in history, BC, like Job, who's suffering, but he's going to rely on the Lord to the very end and be delivered. We have Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, because of the people not responding to his prophecy, and that's like Jesus' ministry too. And in another connection, you have Judith, the woman, and that whole book tells her story of this widow who uses her beauty and charm to destroy an Assyrian general and save Israel from oppression. And she has the head of Holofernes cut off, and this is Jesus coming to cut off the head of the serpent. And so all these things are happening in Jesus have a BC connection, and a connection into Joseph and Mary's life. But now their son will fulfill many of those stories of deliverance or endurance, or the person crying out in the desert. Even John the Baptist's story is like Isaiah's story. And so you have all BC connection. with Saint Joseph. There's the 3 waves of return from exile in the Old Testament. Remember that? And yet this land is has a fulfillment that once was given to Israel, or the man once named Jacob, that God would link up heaven and earth in salvation. It would come. And so certainly in the time of Joseph, there were people in Samaria that still held to that belief that somehow God's going to come to Jacob's well, which is in Samaria. And we know that eventually Jesus goes to that Jacob's well, and that's where the great story of conversion happens with the Samaritan woman. Again, it's all BC stuff. Joseph knows all these stories. You know, he's really taught well. He's clued in. And he knows the story of Moses, the healing tree, the burning bush, you know, the serpent lifted up. And then, of course, Jesus with the fire of the Spirit and his cross being lifted up to heal people, and Jesus himself being lifted up into the heavens. Joseph knows these stories and wonders how they're all getting fulfilled in Messiah, his son. So that's really a lot of Joseph BC. Joseph AD is the moment comes where Joseph is going to meet Mary. Do they meet in Nazareth, as some think? Or do they meet in Jerusalem? Joseph in pilgrimage and Mary working in the temple, do they first meet there? Do the parents instead know each other? Well, could Joseph have known or met Mary? So as God is breaking into the world to bring fulfillment of all things in AD, we wonder, could Joseph have been living in Bethlehem, just 7 miles apart from Jerusalem? Was it an arranged marriage by Holy Anne for Mary to wed Joseph? How did that happen? Well, their family trees had some intersection in the past, like Zerubbabel and David, for instance. Well, if it were an arranged marriage by parents, as it typically was, Joseph had a great family name and reputation from the line of David, and Mary had a great reputation from the priestly line of Aaron. And any parents who were trying to square up a new couple would certainly want to match them up. And the fact that they both came from really the same tribe going back in history, that would have been recognized and made it ideal for them to be paired. Another thing is Joseph was, if he was living in Bethlehem, he came to Jerusalem maybe to do work. You know, maybe he was in Jerusalem more than a few times. And if Mary was working up till her womanhood in the temple, he might have spotted her. She must have been an amazingly beautiful woman, but often veiled. But somehow maybe Joseph did know her. It's a mystery, though. So things were opening up. The AD was breaking through. The dawn from on high shall break, as the prophecy is given. And Zechariah says that. As John the Baptist is born, as Jesus is born. Here are 2 chaste spouses, saved for God, but coupled to be family in Joseph and Mary, for a recreation work of God, like another Adam and Eve. But can God work through 2 chaste spouses, 2 people planned to stay virginal or stay chaste? Well, God's used in the past, in our own history, in New Testament times, St. Edward and Edith Godwin of Essex, certainly a story in England, and the story of faith in England under a king who's a saint now. And he lived in that kind of marital chastity or marital brother-sister relationship. We know St. Hedwig and to Henry the Bearded, another famous saint. They had a number of children, but then it says they went through a virginal time together as husband and wife because God asked them to. With Joseph A.D., he was living in a time where he's meant to marry. Most of the Jewish men meant to marry, but did he have some kind of vocation? And later Jesus would also be a solitary, a single, and so like Joseph, he had a model of how to live that life free of intercourse, a coupling with a woman. Interesting that Joseph could be a mentor in that way. Well, there's all kinds of relationships that follow in the New Testament AD. Francis and Clare, two very close friends who are not married, but very much soul partners. Teresa and John of Avila, again, two great saints who are mystics as well and have that relationship to each other. Joseph is called the righteous man. It's his New Testament title. He is part of what we call the poor Anoim, the steadfast of heart, the faithful ones, like a Joshua. When Jesus later starts his Beatitudes, he'll say, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," probably thinking of Joseph and Mary. Psalm 73 says, "May the humble not retire in confusion. May the poor and the afflicted, the Anoim, the poor in spirit, praise your name, O Lord." Psalm 73:21. And from Psalm 68:34, which is in a famous song for Mass, the Anoim, okay, the Lord hears the cry of the poor, the cry of the Anoim, and his own who are in bonds he spurns not. So Mary and Joseph lived in the times of being in bonds or being under the thumb of the Roman oppression, and yet there was this faithful remnant people. And God's going to come to his people, to his Anoim. They've been steadfast and bowed down to him, still humble, still trying to work acts of justice, still trying to live in mercy. And so Jesus sees them. He reaches out to them. He comes among them in Joseph and Mary. Joseph is a quiet husband and Mary is more the vocal one. But in our Magnificat, she certainly speaks for the AD, or the breakthrough that's coming, when she says, that God has done great things for her. Holy is his name. To the lowly, he lifts them up. To the proud and the arrogant, he casts down. And the whole Magnificat is about God's work coming. In Joseph, we have his going back to Bethlehem because of the census in the AD period, and he's back to where something amazing once happened when the prophet went looking for the son of Jesse, who would be the anointed one, and he's found out on the field. And so now Jesus is to be found by shepherds who are out in the field, born in a stable, and they see the one that God's chosen for the fulfillment of everything. They delighted in the Lord, and the Lord delighted in the fact that they delighted in the Lord. As Jesus grew up, he's in the family of secret royalty, but the real blessing of this family tree is they have the heart of David. They are the Anno Domini people of the Lord's arrival. And I call that then Joseph A.D. And he gets to be the bridge for now Messiah to establish a new covenant. Well, that's just a nice look at Joseph A.D. B.C. It's going to set you up now for a long tape. So I went and gave a talk at the TASTE program in Laurel, and it was 57 minutes long. And so from Tuesday through Saturday on this same program here, Day to Day, you can watch it. You can watch it in however length segments you want, 10 minutes at a time for 5-6 days, or you can watch it all at once. But it's something I gave live in Laurel, and it was taped, and now it's here for you. Thank you. Good day.